What's happening, guys? Welcome to this video. Today we're jumping into Fusion. I know. Don't worry about it. We're not getting too complicated here. You can totally do this. But we're going to be talking about how you can outline things in a basic fashion, kind of like this. We got the Resolve logo over here. You got a little circle around it. It's highlighted. Okay, not too bad. But I'm also going to show you how you can take this circle, make it a little more fancy, and animate it kind of like this. Not too bad, right? Kind of cool. So those are very basic. But let's say, maybe I wanted to highlight my shirt here, right? We got cat. Everybody loves a good Caterpillar, good big machine, right? Who doesn't? Man, I wish I could go drive one of those machines. Those things are awesome. But anyway, we can highlight like that, and I'm gonna show you how we can do that. And then we're gonna get into something that's a little more complicated. You need to use a little bit of tracking, but we're still gonna create that outline and have that glowing effect. And we can even animate it too. It's gonna look a little something like this. So this is a great tip. I use it when I'm trying to highlight things in my videos and stuff sometimes. So with that said, let's jump into Resolve. We're going to check this out. I'm going to show you how to do it from basic to a little more advanced. I'll put some timestamps in the video so you can jump to the part that you're interested in, or come back to it if you forget how to do it. So here we come, Fusion. We're jumping in, and we're going to animate some outlines. Whoa, full stop. If you are new here, my name is Jay or Jason Yadlovsky. Doesn't really matter which one, but we make weekly DaVinci Resolve tutorials. So if you're into that, consider subscribing to my channel. So I am in the edit tab right here. I got my timeline set up with how I want it. I do have my Resolve logo right where I want to put it for the first static outline that we're going to create. I want to resize this guy, so I'm just going to open my inspector, scale this guy down. And actually, the way I like to scale stuff a lot of times, just click this little icon right here, and then you can just size it however you want. So I'll bring this guy over here. Looks pretty good. Maybe shrink it down a little more. Let's go with like that. So I know I want to put a circle around it. So how do we do that? Well, we do need to jump into Fusion, and for this example, because I have an image that's a smaller size here, I actually want to make this into a Fusion composition first. If you were just using your clip that's the same size as your timeline, you could just jump right into Fusion, which I'll show you how to do that in a minute here on the one where I outlined the cat shirt. So what I want to do is just come to my DaVinci Resolve logo. I'm going to right-click and say New Fusion Clip. And now what that's going to do is create a Fusion clip that's the same size as my video clips in my timeline here. So have your clip selected, and we're going to jump on over into Fusion right here. All right, so we're in Fusion. A quick tip right here, if you hold your Command or Control key and your middle mouse wheel, you zoom in and out. That might come in handy for you. So the first thing we need to do is I'm going to select my median one, which is my input video. You want to make sure you're at the very beginning of your frame or of your clip here. So right here, I'm at the beginning. And for this one, it's pretty easy. We want to come and hit a background node. That's going to add in our background right here, as well as a merge node if you have your input selected, your median one selected. It'll add a merge node for you. Got my background node. And next, we need something to draw that shape with. So I'm going to use this guy right here, the ellipse. So if I have my background node selected and I select my ellipse, it's going to attach it up and push everything a little out of whack there. All right, so reorganized. The ellipse is connected to the background node, which is connected to the merge node. We're good. And you can notice up on the screen here, we do have our ellipse, or our circle in this case, and that's looking pretty good so far, but you notice that it's black. So we need to adjust some settings here so it looks the way we want. So with your ellipse selected, come on over to your inspector, and right here we have solid. You want to go ahead and uncheck that. Now that's going to turn off the fill for the shape. The next thing I want to do is come to border width right here, and I want to increase that. Now you can just hit this and grab it and slide it like this. If you want a more fine-tuned adjustment, you can hover over the number here, click, hold, and you can drag it back and forth. So I'm just going to pick something like that for now. And now I want to resize this and put it on top of my DaVinci Resolve logo. So I'm just going to come over into the image, into the viewer here. I can grab it and just shrink it down. And I can grab my center point and just bring it over top of my DaVinci Resolve logo. Gonna zoom in a little bit, and that looks pretty good. Let's say I want to make that a little bit of a softer edge, right? I don't want it to be so harsh there. I can come on over to soft edge right here, and it's basically gonna fade that edge a little bit. So you can make it however you want. I'm gonna pick something like that, looks pretty good. So now we want to change the color of this outline, right? I want it to be more of an orangey kind of color. So to do that, come on over to our background node, click on that. And up here in our inspector, here's our color. I'm just gonna click on that. It's gonna bring up my color wheel. I'm gonna drop this all the way down to white so I can see all my colors. And let's say I just want to choose an orange. That's something kind of like that. Gonna hit OK. And now you can see our shape, or our highlight, is the color that we selected, the shape that we selected, which is the ellipse, and it's kind of faded in and out. So that's the basics of how you're going to just create a basic static outline on your image or on your clip here. So let's jump back into the edit tab real quick. And I'm going to just grab the handles here and fade this clip in, and I'll fade it out. And this is what that looks like. Fashion, kind of like this. We got the Resolve logo over here. You got a little circle around it. It's highlighted. Okay, not too bad. Maybe. All right, so that works out pretty good. So in the next example, we're going to see how we can animate that circle. So I have my next clip right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just start with the first clip I created, because you would do the exact same steps as we just did in order to get started animating this shape. So I'm actually going to delete this logo here. I'm going to select my clip, and I'm going to copy that over right to where I put my little marker here. And now we should be good to go. I'm going to select my clip, and we want to jump back into Fusion. So if you have something highlighted and you want it to stay stationary, but you want to animate it, right? I want that circle to spin as it comes in. This is how you're going to do it. You're going to follow all the same steps we just did. You're going to add your background node with a merge. You're going to add your ellipse. And by the way, you can use these other tools here depending on the shape. If you want something different than the ellipse, you want a square, you can use that, or a rectangle. If you want to draw a custom shape, you can use the polygon or the B-spline, and just put those where this ellipse is. It doesn't matter. They'll all work the same way. They have the same tools where you can adjust the border width and make it not a solid. So you're going to see that more as we move forward here, but just want to let you guys know, whatever shape you want to do, you can do it. Don't worry about just using a circle. But in each one of these tools here that we just talked about, regardless of which one you use, you're going to want to select it, come back to the inspector, and we want to take a look at the position and length section. So we're going to add some keyframes in here, and don't get too worried. It's pretty straightforward and pretty easy. So I'm going to come to the first frame in my clip here. So make sure you're at your first frame. And I'm going to go ahead and set keyframes for the position as well as the length. Now the length, I want to drag that all the way down to 0 because I want it to get longer as the clip goes on. The position is going to help me determine how many times is it going to rotate around the circle. So if I just grab the position and I pull it, you can see it swings around. And notice it stops at one rotation there. Well, we can just punch in any number here that we want. It doesn't have to stay at 1. So let's just back this down. We're going to set our keyframes here at 0 and 0 for both the position and the length. Now I'm going to come ahead. You pick however many frames you want. How long do you want to animate it? I'm just going to hit the space bar here, see what looks good. So for me, I'm going to say 50 frames sounds good, about 2 seconds, because I'm at 23.976 frames per second for my timeline. So now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to take my length, and I'm going to boost that all the way up to 1. For the position, I want to change this, and this is where you've got some leeway. You can pick as many rotations as you want. Let's say I want to do, 4 rotations. And then I'm just going to click outside of these boxes. Now let's go back to the beginning and see what that looks like. So there we go. That looks pretty good. It's got a nice little animation there. It rotates in. I like that. Now let's say that's cool. Now I want it to animate out as well. So just come to the frame where you want to start the animation out. I'm going to say, let's start on 80. I'm going to come back to my inspector. Again, make sure you have your ellipse selected or whichever one of these tools you used right here. Make sure you've got it selected. Come to the position and the length, and you want to click the keyframe button to add another keyframe. Then I'm going to go ahead to the end of the clip, and I'm just going to drag the length to 0 and position back to 0. So now when we play through our clip, we should see it animate on. It'll stay consistent, stay a steady solid circle, and then it'll animate it off. Let's check it out. Good, animates on, and then hits that keyframe and animates off. And it's just looping here, so if I turn off the loop here, it should stop at the end. And there you go. So that's the basics of how you would animate a very basic outline here in DaVinci Resolve. Could be any shape you want, and that's how you would do it. So the next section we're going to look at is how I highlight the words on my shirt with an outline, how I outline that. So in my timeline here, I've got the 2 clips where I am standing up and I'm holding my shirt, so that's where we want the outline to be. So you notice I do have 2 different clips here. So what I want to do is just select both my clips, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say New Fusion Clip. That way it's going to put everything together in one Fusion clip. Now we're going to jump on over into Fusion. So this one is going to be a little bit more complicated, but still it's not too bad, and we're going to take the concepts we just learned and apply it to this particular video clip. But the first thing we do before we start doing our outlining and all that is we need to create a planar tracker. And we want to do that because I am moving just a little bit, and it's going to be enough to notice it that if I just drew static letters, you're going to notice that I'm moving and the letters aren't. So I'm going to go ahead and select our median 1, and I'm going to use Shift and Spacebar to bring up our tools. I'm going to type in tracker, and we want to use the planar tracker. Or is it planar? Planar tracker, not planar, planar. Either way, click on that one. and that should add it right into our node tree here. So a couple things we want to start with. Make sure you're at the very beginning of your clip. Make sure your planar tracker is selected. Then come on up into the inspector, and tracker right here, we want to change this to hybrid point area. Now, depending on your clip, you may want to change the motion type. I'm going to try it on perspective first, but sometimes I use one of these top guys right here, and those might work out better. Depends on your clip and how things are moving. So let's try perspective first and see how this works out. Then come on over into options, and for trail length here, I'm going to bring this down to 3. Next, we need to make a shape around what we want to track. So I'm going to come into my viewer here and click on the pen guy here. I'm going to zoom in on my image. And I'm just going to make a rough selection here around the words on my shirt. You don't have to be too exact. I mean, again, it may depend on your clip. So I'm going to go like that, zoom out a little bit. And now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to use this one right here, track to the end. So it'll track from where I'm at in the beginning of the clip all the way to the end. All right, so that's done. Now that that's done, come on over here and we have Create Planar Transform. Go ahead and click on that. So now that we did that, we can get rid of this planar guy. You can either just hit the delete button and get rid of it like that, or you can click on it and hold your shift key and it's going to just disconnect it from your nodes there. So I'm just going to disconnect it, put on the side for now. I'm also going to leave this guy on the side because I found sometimes I have some issues with the tracking before I get started. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to click on my median 1. I want to go ahead and add a background node. Now that's going to put a merge in here for us, which is perfect. I got my background node. Now I can set the color for it now if I want. What color do I want to use? Let's see, let's click on here. I know the cat words are yellow, almost orange, so I'm going to go with a blue just because it's a nice contrasting color. I'm going to hit OK. And now our screen is solid, so now let's add in one of our tools over here that are going to allow us to make the shape that we want. So I want to use this guy right here, which is the polygon, because it's going to give me hard right angles, and the letters are all pretty, geometric or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it dropped in the polygon for me. So I'm just going to make this look a little bit neater here. And you notice now the blue is gone because we don't have anything drawn on our polygon layer yet. The next thing I want to do is select on my polygon. I want to come on over to the inspector and I want to uncheck solid. I don't want it to be solid. So next I need to trace whatever it is that I want to be highlighted. And in this case, I'm going to do each letter individually because that could give you more options of how you might animate things or, maybe change things later on if you want. You want to change the colors for each one, whatever. So I'm going to do them each individually. So I'm going to click on my little tool here, going to zoom in, and I'm going to make sure that I'm at the very beginning of the video clip. And I'm just going to trace right over top of the letters. All right, so there we go. The C is done. Now, the longer you take in tracing out your whatever it is you're trying to trace over, the better it's going to look. So I didn't go too crazy here, but we're close enough, I think. So I'm going to have my polygon selected, and I want to come over here in the inspector to border width. I'm going to go ahead and boost that up a little, and I want to fine tune it a little, so I'm going to actually use this over here. And I do want to soften the edge a little, so I'm just going to come in here and fine-tune that a little bit. And if I just click on a different node other than the polygon, you'll see, there we go, our C is outlined. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing with the A, the T, and the little triangle. And one tip here, if you want to just use the same color background, you can just select it, Control-C, click outside of it, Control-V, and just paste it, and then you've got the same color. You don't have to go repick it in each background node. Little tip there for you. So now that we've got all of our outlines done, you notice if I play through this, look, the words don't move, right? And that's not what we want. So now is where we need to add in that planar tracker that we created, or in this case, the planar transform. So where does this guy go? So where we want to put this is actually between our background nodes here and the merge node. So I'm just going to make a little space by selecting these guys, drag them down a little bit, make a little more room for ourselves here. And all I have to do is grab this guy, and I'm going to hold the shift button, click on this, and drag it and drop it right in between where the background node is and the merge one node. Now I need to do this for each one of these guys, and like we talked about earlier, you can copy paste these. So I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste, and I'm just going to drag it, holding shift, drop it on there. Same thing, copy, paste, hold shift, drag it on there, copy, paste. And the copy paste, I'm just doing Command or Control C, Command or Control V, copy and paste. Universal copy and paste. Drop that on there. All right, now let's play through and see how this is looking here. We got cat. Everybody loves a good caterpillar, good big machine, right? There you go. Stays right on there.
We got cat.
Perfect.
Everybody loves a good caterpillar, good.
That looks great. So if we just leave this as it is, we can jump back into the edit tab. And now let's see how it looks here and turn this off.
Right here, right? We got cat. Everybody loves a good caterpillar,
Boom.
good
Right
big
there.
machine, right?
Who doesn't? It looks like it sticks with it. It works out pretty darn good, I think. And it's not all that hard. It just takes a little bit of patience while you're working there in Fusion. So I don't have a super powerful machine. You don't need a ton of power to do this kind of stuff. I mean, unless you get real advanced. I have a M1 Mac Mini with 16 gigs of RAM, and it does the job just fine on working on this kind of stuff. So taking a look at the last example here, we're looking at the church. And if I play through, you can see it just kind of pushes in towards the church here. So here's what we're going to do with this clip. We're going to add the outline. We're going to track the church, and then we're also going to animate it. And then I've got some bonus tips for you that'll work for pretty much any of the animations, so you want to stay tuned for that. So let's jump into Fusion here. I'm going to get back to the beginning of my clip, select my clip, and jump into Fusion. All right, so in Fusion here, what's the first thing we want to do? We want to create some tracking, right? We want to track that church. So select your median one, shift spacebar, bring up the planar tracker, planar. I want to say planar, but it says planar. Anyway, go ahead and add that guy in. Once that's added in there, we want to come up to our pattern here, select hybrid point area, perspective. I'm going to leave it on perspective. We'll see how that works out. Going to jump into options, bring down the trail length just a little bit there. Come on back. Next, we need to draw our shape. So I'm going to zoom in by holding Command or Control on a PC. Middle mouse wheel, zoom in. And I'm just going to make, kind of a rough outline here around the church so we can try and get some tracking points here. Doesn't have to be perfect for the tracking. Although if you do have some trouble, you might want to try different tracking points, but I'm going to try this first. We'll see how that works out. I'm also going to hit the set button up here because we're not at the very beginning of the clip. I did trim off a little, so you can see right here. Want to make sure we're in the beginning. I'm going to hit the set, and now we're going to track from this point forward in the clip. So I was going to throw the points on there. Does a pretty good job of tracking. And there we go. So we got our tracking. I'm going to go ahead and create the planar transform. Planar. It's going to get me every time. So now I got my planar transform. I'm all set now. Sometimes you can add this in first in your node tree here, but I've been having a little bit of issues with that, with these examples in particular. So what I'm going to do is actually just do my background node and my polygon node first, make my outline, and then I'll bring in the tracker, the planar transform, so that everything tracks perfectly. So I'm going to select a median one here. I'm going to add in the background node. It'll put in a merge node for us. And then I'm going to select my background node. I want to change the color. We're going to go ahead and make that yellow. Hit OK. Next thing I want to add in is which one of these tools do I want to use. And for me, I want to use Polygon in this case. So we're going to add that guy in there. Selecting my Polygon node, we want to come over here and turn off solid because I don't want it to be solid. And again, just double check that you're at the beginning of your clip right here. And now I'm going to zoom into my clip, and I'm just going to outline the church. So the better your outline, the better it's probably going to look, depending on your situation and what you're trying to do. So take your time, make it look good, and just do the best you can with outlining whatever's in your clip. So I'm going to speed through this. Be right back. All right, got the outline complete there. Looks pretty good. Select my polygon. We're going to bring up our border width here a little bit. See the yellow coming in, and I'm going to soften that edge just a little bit. All right, next thing I want to do is I'm going to grab my planar transform, and we're going to drag it down, hold the shift key, and drop it right into our little node tree. So now when we play through, let's zoom out here. This should look pretty good. Let's see what it looked like. Looks good. That highlights tracking with the church. I like the way it's looking. Perfect. So next thing we want to do is animate this. So select your polygon one, and just like we did in previous examples here, we're going to want to adjust the position and the length. So put the playhead at the beginning of your clip. Come on over and hit the keyframes on your position and length. I'm going to drop the length to 0. I'm just going to wiggle the position there to make sure we get that keyframe set at 0. I'm going to come in and let's say I want to come, I don't know, maybe halfway. I'm going to boost my length up to 1. That'll add a keyframe there. And then let's say for position, I want it to go around like 5 times or so. See how that looks. I'm going to punch in 5. So let's see how that looks. And I'm just going to click out here in space off my Polygon 1 node so that way I don't see that little red line there. So let's see, how does this look? Back to the beginning of my clip. All right, that's pretty cool. I like that. Now let's say we want to animate it coming off too as the clip comes to an end. So let's see, I'm going to come back here. I want to jump to my keyframes. So we're at this keyframe. I'm going to come ahead a little bit, say about there. I'm going to click the keyframe button, add another keyframe, and then I'm going to come to the end of my clip, and I'm just going to drag these back to 0. So length back to 0 and position back to 0. So coming back to begin my clip, how does it look? Let's see what it looks like. We've got the animation on as we zoom in, and it's going to hold steady, and then boom, it's going to flash out. So it's pretty quick at the end. Maybe we wanted to leave a little more frames, but whatever, you get the idea. You pick whatever works for your clip. Now let's get into some bonus tips here on how you can make that animation look just a little bit sweeter, look a little bit smoother, and just look a little bit better. All right, here's what we're gonna do. First thing we're gonna do is click on our polygon node, and we actually wanna come up into the spline right here. So open that up, and you're gonna get this little chart here. So find your polygon 1, or if you used, you know, this guy, the spline, or the ellipse, or the rectangle, whatever you used, find it here and check it on so that all the items are showing. Now you can see when we put in the keyframes, it's a little bit of an abrupt adjustment there. So let's just zoom to fit everything here. What I wanna do is come in here and I'm gonna just select all these points, just draw a window around them. And what I wanna do is once they're selected, just press the letter S. And it's gonna smooth out all those curves. And if you wanna adjust anything, you can come in and make adjustments as you want. You can see this one comes up a little high. Maybe I wanna bring these guys down a little bit. Bring that guy like that. All right, cool, looks good. But you can just press S and just leave it like that, and it's gonna work out just fine too. So that's just gonna kind of smooth out that animation a little bit and make it look even sweeter. Once you do that, that's all you gotta do here. You can go ahead and close the spline. The next thing you wanna do is while you have that polygon selected, come on up to settings up here, and we wanna turn on some motion blur, right? Because motion blur just makes everything look a little bit better. Come on, let's be honest, right? So you can leave it at 2 if you want. I'm gonna crank it up to like 5 here, and we'll just leave it at that. So now if we come back here, let's play through our clip. I'm just gonna click out here in space so we don't get the little red outline there. And let's see how that looks. You can see it kind of eases into that speed of the animation there and comes off pretty good. I don't know about you guys, I think that looks pretty cool, and this has like a million different uses of how you could use it in your videos. It's a great tool to have in your bag when you want to try to do something cool and a little bit different in your videos. All right, so that wraps up this one, guys. I hope you learned a little something. If you did, give this video a thumbs up for me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have any troubles, leave a comment down below. With that said, guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace. I think that ought to do it, yeah? I think that ought to work. Why not, right? Why not? I don't know if you guys can hear it, man. They're cutting down some major trees outside. Got big dead ash trees. We got the emerald ash borer out here. You guys ever hear that in the United States here? Ooh, that bad boy sweeping across the country last decade or so. And they finally made it here and killed all the ash trees on my street. So I'm gonna be out there chopping some wood. Anyway, let's go into Fusion. How am I getting... Where in the world are those keyframes coming from? What? Bro, you're killing me, Smalls. Wait, is there 2 here? Where's that coming from? That's so odd. Something else is going on here, dude. Reset. Oh, because it already was a... Alright. Just... Dude, this is so crazy. Alright, scratch that. Let's do that again. Take 2 of the ending, because the other ending did not work out so well. So take 2 here on the ending. Alright, last and final example. Is my head in there or what? Can I go a little wider? Ooh, too much. There it is. Finally, after how many recordings? I don't know. I think we finally got it. Now we can get this guy into the computer. Let's go edit. Let's go edit. Whew.